Merlin, the Master Wizard. Alright, hello and welcome to a new series. As you may have seen on my channel, I recently released a short about Merlin and his god backstory. This is kind of a follow-up video so I can talk more about Merlin, because in a minute I can only say so much and there's a lot of things I missed out that I would like to touch on again. So, welcome. And let's get straight into it. So, Merlin is often depicted as a king's advisor and wizard in Arthurian legends, and he was first written by Geoffrey of Monmouth in the 12th century. Merlin later became a much more pivotal figure in the Middle Age Arthurian literature. And Geoffrey's main inspiration for Merlin was a poet called Merlin the Wild, who lived around the 6th century according to Welsh legends. And another character which inspired Geoffrey of Monmouth was Emrys, which is a character itself, which is based on a 5th century war leader, Ambrosius Aurelianus, a Roman, I'm assuming, by that name. And Geoffrey, in his second work on Merlin, would attribute a lot of Ambrosius's legend with Merlin and King Arthur. And one such tale is that of Vortigern's Tower. Vortigern was a king. King Vortigern built a tower which kept collapsing, and he would not understand why. And Ambrosius was the one who revealed to King Vortigern, why his tower kept collapsing, and that was due to 2 dragons being in conflict underneath the tower, and these were symbolic of the invading Saxons and native Celts' recent battles. And when peace came to the land, Vortigern's tower would stand. Now, there are a lot of other tales of Merlin in Geoffrey's work. One other tale that I will tell is that of when Merlin disguises Uther Pendragon to sneak into Tintagel Castle to father his son, who you may know as King Arthur. This was to the enemy's wife, and in later accounts Merlin will tutor Arthur, but however in these early depictions he doesn't. In Geoffrey's work he does not tutor Arthur. Arthur is tutored by someone else. And another key poet within Merlin's story, well, retellings of Merlin's story, is a poet called Robert de Boron, a French poet, who later tells the story of Merlin that many of you are now familiar with. It sets the foundation of the story of Lancelot and the Holy Grail, and obviously Merlin is a key figure in the quest of the Holy Grail. However, in this retelling, Merlin is a demon spawn and is saved from becoming the Antichrist by Blaise, I don't know. Not sure how you pronounce that. A priest who baptized him and thus saved him from becoming the Antichrist. But due to the nature of his birth, Merlin still has some unique characteristics. He can speak fluently from birth, has vast knowledge of the past, present, and future, and he is also able to shapeshift. And within this text, Merlin is also said to orchestrate Arthur's drawing of the sword from the stone, and is also said to have told Uther Pendragon to create the Order of the Round Table, which obviously is quite important in the Lancelot quests. And probably the most famous depiction of Merlin that we all know today is in popular culture is the Merlin that is told by Thomas Malory in his book Le Morte d'Arthur. It was written in French again. But Malory takes a lot of inspiration from de Boron and Geoffrey, but he limits the negative connotations of Merlin's power quite a lot, and rarely is he ever condemned as being demonic by characters such as King Lot, the king of the Picts. And in earlier prose, Merlin is inherently evil due to his demonic birth. But in this text, Merlin is not inherently evil. And also in the earlier text, he's often depicted as being an outcast or wild man, which relates back to Geoffrey's first influence, that being Merlin the Wild, or Merlin Wilt, as he is sometimes called. Merlin is the one in this text who commences the quest for the Holy Grail. He has a natural affinity to it, having knowledge of it due to his birth, and often after initiating the quest, Merlin will use his shape-shifting powers to shift into a bird and retire. Merlin will also use his power of foresight that he gained from birth to inform King Arthur of a self-fulfilling prophecy. And that is the birth of his second son, Mordred, and this will lead to the massacre of the innocents later on and Arthur's eventual death. However, Merlin has a very different ending, and his death is due to a lust over one of his students. One of his students is Arthur's half-sister, Morgan le Fay. However, it's another student called Vivian, a Nimue, who is Merlin's love interest. There are many different stories as to how this leads to Merlin's death, but there are very many common themes. One of which is the knowledge of her plot against him, but his lack of ability or will to counter the plots. And usually after eliminating Merlin, Vivian will replace him as King Arthur's advisor and court mage. But some ways in which Vivian disposes of Merlin include internal imprisonment within the enchanted forest of Brocliande, or just a cave, or Merlin is just outright killed. And Vivian's motives change depending on the story. In some it's just to protect her own virginity, in some it's jealousy of Merlin and Morgan's relationship, because, well, it's quite intimate, or just outright fear of Merlin and his power. It really does change depending on who's telling the story and their interpretation of Merlin. Because in one of the stories, in a Spanish story, Merlin actually cannot use his prophetic knowledge to see his demise due to sexual drive with Vivian. And but in some stories, it's another one of his students, Niniane, a lady of the lake, is also said to have disposed of Merlin in some retellings. And one of the ways Merlin is dealt with by Niniane is sleeping forever in a pit within the forest of Darnance, or he is imprisoned under a rock that cannot be lifted. And he is found by a king in one of the stories, but the king cannot lift the rock, and thus Merlin is imprisoned forever. And yeah, but many different ways Merlin ends, shall we say. Some of them are much less, gruesome than others. Some he's not just trapped under a rock for all eternity or asleep for all eternity. Some he actually retires. And they're quite peaceful. And one of these is from Northern Wales, in which Merlin retires to a house of glass upon Bardsley Island with the 13 treasures of Britain. And that is the end of that story. And that is also the end of this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you've got this far, I commend you, and I will see you guys in the next one. Be sure to like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Peace.